Bob Maley. I'm 60 years old. Just want to share how the Lord's touched my life. Okay, 2 years ago, Thanksgiving, about this time, I was at my mom's house. Really wasn't feeling well. My mother could tell I wasn't feeling well. Everybody could tell I wasn't feeling well. I was freezing. I was sitting right next to the heater. They were worried about me. I wasn't worried. I said, Mom, I'm going to get over this. I've never been sick in my life. I'll get over this. And she said, okay. 3 months later, I went to my primary care doctor. Of course, my doctor instantly put me in the hospital. They did all kind of testing on me. They found out that I was retaining fluid. I weighed 218 pounds when I went in the hospital. They drained 13 liters of fluid that was infected out of my body. I went from 218 to 137 pounds in 11 days. Worried me. I couldn't understand. My liver wasn't working. After I got out of the hospital and lost all the weight, I thought everything was going to be fine. I had to return and go back and see my doctor, and he gave me, all he did was prescribe medicines and took blood work, and he decided that there was a little bit more wrong than we all thought. He thought I should go to Emory. September, I had an incident where I kind of was at home. Bob, my dad, was at home taking care of me every day. My son came, he called my wife and says, I think he needs to go see his doctor. And here I was, I didn't know any of this was going on. I was just there. Bob took me to my primary care doctor, and he instantly had me sent to St. Francis. They put me in St. Francis. I was there for 7 or 8 days. Never knew I was there. Never knew it. My wife called Emory and she says, please get my husband out of here. He needs to come up to Emory. When I got to Emory, my wife was already there, and my wife couldn't believe that I had come out of the coma. I was at St. Francis for 8 days and never came out of the coma. They would get me up and I would walk. I never opened my eyes. I never moved my hands. I never did, you could stick a spoon in my mouth and I would eat, but I never opened my eyes. So, it was tough on my wife to see me in that condition, because I really don't know exactly what kind of condition I was in. On June 27th, when I got to Emory from being at St. Francis Hospital, I was actually officially on a liver list, and also was told that a lot of people die waiting for livers than get them. A lot of people. So just because I was on the list don't mean I was the top one on the list. But I was very fortunate, to even get on the list as soon as I did. And of course, all my family, they were very worried, and I wasn't worried as much. I put it all in God's hands from the very beginning when I found out how sick I really was, because there was nothing I could control. There was nothing my wife could control, what I could control. It had to be all in God's hands. And I felt like that was the best thing that I could do. Okay, so after being rejected twice for liver, Sunday morning, I was told that I'm getting a liver. 6:30 Sunday evening, they came and got me out of my bed and put me on a stretcher and took me downstairs. My wife worked hard to get it out to all my family. So my wife got to them. All I know is I went in about 6:30. I started surgery about 9 o'clock. It ended on Monday, the 7th. Afterwards, there was a little difficulty with my liver transplant. Most transplants, when you have a transplant with an organ, it usually doesn't start working for 24 to 72 hours, and mine started working instantly, and he had trouble sewing the vessels up in my liver, but other than that, everything went really smooth. I got better after about 13, 14 days. They sent me home. I went home. I was at home for 8 days. Never knew I was at home. Never knew I was at home. My home nurse came to visit me to check my vitals and all that. When she got to the house, she called the ambulance, had me sent to medical center. While I was at the medical center, the doctor there really didn't know what to do. I was a post-liver transplant patient. He called Emory. They made arrangements for me to be air flighted back to Emory. I stayed another month after that. They worked hard in trying to get my medicines right. I was getting stronger. I was getting where I could walk. I started off walking 25 feet, and it don't sound like a whole lot, but that was a whole lot. It took everything I had to do that. And finally my doctor says you got to do 3 or 4 things to get out of the hospital. You got to eat, you got to walk, and you got to be able to do certain things. I said, okay, I'm ready. So I got up, and I told my therapist, I said, okay, I'm ready to walk. I walked over 500 feet, and they told me I would not go to therapy. They said I would be showing everybody up there because there's a lot of sick people that's in therapy. So I got to come home again. And since coming home, after coming home, I got better and better. I had to go back to Emory about every 3 weeks, have blood work, tests done. They did biopsies. They finally got my medicine all right. I've been going back for the last year, and just last Monday I went to the doctor. My cardiologist released me, said my heart was good. My liver doctor released me, said my numbers were good. All I could do is just thank you, God, because he did. I put it all in His hands, and He did what I was praying that He would do. I think during the process of all this that was going on, when I didn't know what was going on, I know who looked over me. It was God. God looked over me the whole time. Anybody that has to go through what I went through, my advice to them is just put it in God's hands and let Him make that decision, the outcome of it. Because doctors can tell you things, doesn't mean it's going to happen. If you're meant to be here, if it's His will, anything can happen. Well, the only way I can explain being here is God's got me here for a reason, to share my story.